Ours is not the story of a people that had it easy. Ours is the story of a nation that for over 2 centuries, each generation has confronted its challenges and embraced its opportunities. And because they did, each generation was able to leave their children better off than themselves. Now it's our turn. Now the time has come for this generation to make its choice. And we are all called to this task. For there is not a single one among us who is not the beneficiary of the extraordinary blessing of America. I always tell people, America doesn't owe me anything. America doesn't owe me anything. I have a debt to America I'll never repay. As you are probably aware by now, my parents were not born in this country. They were born on the island of Cuba, to families that were not rich, families that were poor, and families that were disconnected from power. Into a society like almost every other society in human history where your future was decided by who you came from. And so in 1956, my parents said, we're going to go to America because it's the one place on earth where people like us have a chance. And here in this country, my parents never became rich or famous. You never would have heard about them had I not run for office and told you their story. But my parents became successful people because they owned a home in a safe and stable neighborhood, because they were able to retire with dignity, and because they were able to leave all 4 of their children better off than themselves. My mother worked as a maid, at a stock clerk at Kmart, making aluminum chairs at a factory. My father was primarily a banquet bartender at hotels. And he had a particularly difficult life. You see, 4 days before he turned 9, my father's mother died. And so he had to stop going to school and start working at 9 years of age. And he never really went back to school. And he basically worked for the next 70 years of his life. And he worked on nights, and he worked on weekends, and he worked on holidays, and he worked on days he didn't feel like working. He worked as a banquet bartender. Now, when he was a young man, my father had big dreams because young people have big dreams. But his dreams became impossible. And so when my parents came to America, they found a new dream. And here's what it was. Their new dream became to ensure, to do everything they could to make sure that what happened to them never happened to us. Their new dream became this, that we would have the chance to do all the things they never could. And that's why they worked so hard. That's why my father stood behind a small portable bar in the back of a banquet hall. So one day I would have the chance to live the life I wanted. And for me, the journey from behind that small portable bar in the back of a room to this stage here this afternoon, to the life I live today, that journey for me, that is the essence of the American dream. It is what makes us special. Every country in the world has rich people. The poorest country in the world has rich people. What makes us different is that here, millions of people that will never be rich achieve happiness and success through hard work and through perseverance. And that's not just my story I just shared with you. As Americans, that is our story. For who among us is not but a generation or two removed from someone who made our future the purpose of their lives? Did not your grandparents make extraordinary sacrifices so your parents could get ahead? Or maybe it was your parents who you remember working the 2 jobs and giving up their own dreams so you could be anything you wanted. Or maybe that's you. Maybe you're the one working the 2 jobs and sacrificing. Maybe you're the one that's put aside your own dreams so that your children can have a life better than yourself. As Americans, this is our story. This is who we are. This is what makes us special. And whether or not we remain special will be determined by whether that is still possible. And so I run for president because I want America to continue to be a place where parents can do for their children what my parents did for me and what your parents did for you. This is the great cause of this generation. This is the issue of our time. And the good news is this: if we do what needs to be done, if we can turn the page, if we can get off this reckless road of big government and big spending and re-embrace the principles of our founding, of limited government and free enterprise, and put in place leaders that believe these issues and put them into practice, leaders that know how to apply conservatism to the challenges of the 21st century, if we can do this, then I promise you this: we won't just save the American dream. We will expand it to reach more people and change more lives than ever before. And I promise you that if we do what needs to be done, the 21st century isn't going to be as good as the 20th century. It will be better. It will be a new American century, the greatest era in the history of this country. And that's why I need your help in the caucuses, and I hope I can earn your support. God bless you. Thank you for having me.